Hey, this is guitarist Eric Skye again. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about right hand technique, fingerstyle technique. Um, I said in my previous episode about left hand technique that I personally believe that a huge part, or the biggest part of playing guitar is about the right hand. That's really where the tone comes from, it's where the time comes from, and your dynamics. So anyway, I'm pretty passionate about that. I'm going to try to give kind of an overview of my techniques, some of my opinions, um, but I can't just do like an overview of all right hand technique. I wish I could, but it's just an enormous subject. But my challenge is for you to go and explore that. I think that when I was younger and I would like go to concerts and stuff, like as a kid, I would really kind of stare at guitar players' left hands as if there was something to glean from watching them go up and down the fretboard. And there kind of was, for sure. I remember the first time I saw someone bend a string because, I grew up before YouTube and all that. And I think it was Roy Clark on TV. I'm like, whoa, I didn't know you could do that. But by and large, I slowly, as I got older, I realized it was much more interesting and beneficial to start really watching people's right hands. And it's utterly fascinating when you think about all the different worlds of right hand techniques. I mean, I could make an hour-long video just talking about how amazed I am that Wes Montgomery did what he did with his thumb. I mean, it's just incredible. Or someone like Paco de Lucia, how his flamenco technique, or maybe Michael Hedges, or someone or Eddie Van Halen, who would come over with their right hand and play on the neck. Or the incredible picking of people like, Tony Rice or Al Di Meola. And I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on. It's just incredible, all the different things that you can do with the right hand. So again, the challenge is, in addition to me maybe giving you some insight into how I think about and what I do with my right hand, but the challenge is to really go out and explore right hand technique and see what you can beg, borrow, and steal, and incorporate into your thing. So anyway, as far as my right hand technique goes, I guess it's probably closer to classical technique than not. I use all four fingers, or maybe I should say I use three fingers and my thumb, as opposed to what I think of as like sort of the banjo thing of just using two fingers and the thumb, but I use all three. I do use a thumb pick because I don't have fingernails. I wish I did. If I did, I would not. But I use a thumb pick. I use a fairly short one because I'm trying to get as close to sort of a classical position as I can. If your thumb pick is up really high, it kind of has your thumb, at this sort of weird angle. So anyway, I keep this guy pretty short. It only peaks out about a 1/4 inch. So hopefully, if you're not using a thumb pick, you can just take what I'm saying if it interests you, and it should work. I'm definitely not of like the Chet Atkins, Jerry Reed school, but I do use the thumb pick, and I do like mute the strings a lot. So you will see a lot of times I'm sort of have my wrist kind of a little lower than a classical guy would because I'm trying to mute that bass. I just like that sound, and probably years of performing and trying to stifle feedback is where it comes from. But anyway, another thing about my technique is that I do anchor my, anchor's not the right word. I do touch the face of the top lightly with my fourth finger, my little finger, my pinky finger, which is definitely frowned upon in the classical world. And I'm sure there's great reasons for it, but I'm kind of too deep into it now to change, I think. I feel like it offers me a little bit of stability and accuracy. And sometimes it comes off, but largely it's just kind of sitting there. Over the years, I have been more conscious of not pushing down into it. I used to sort of really, if I was tense, I would sort of really push down into the top, and I'd get all this muscle tension in the arm. I'm more conscious now of just letting that glide very lightly. So if I'm playing like, just arpeggiating, I guess, I don't know if that's really the right word, just playing through the notes of a chord or something, usually my technique is just what a classical guitar player might call free strokes. So I pick the note, and then the finger kind of moves free of the rest of the strings and allows everything to ring. This is maybe as opposed to a rest stroke, which classical guitar players do by sort of pushing down into the guitar, which makes a nice big fat sound, which is great. And sort of pushing down and then ending up resting on the string below it, hence the name rest. I don't really do a lot of that, but I think it's really cool. It's also on a steel string. I think somehow it doesn't seem to work as well. But that said, I've seen people do it, and it's really cool. But for the most part, I'm doing free strokes. And as I mentioned in the tone production episode, I'm very conscious of sort of where the string rolls off in order to get a combination of skin and the side of, in my case, a fingerpick, maybe in your case, a nail. So, on one hand, you could be kind of like this, on the other hand, you'd be all the way over like this. I'm sort of in the middle in a way so that when I pick the note, again, I'm getting off the side of the finger. I don't know if that makes sense, but that, again, putting tone first, that's where my technique is kind of coming from. Sometimes when I do Skype lessons and stuff, a common question is, how do you play fast single note lines playing with your fingers? And the answer is, I don't know. I don't play a lot of fast single note lines. And one of the cool things about playing fingerstyle, if you're doing jazz or something, is that maybe that it keeps you from playing fast lines. It's kind of a good thing. Anyway, I'll try to share where I'm coming from. And part of me saying that is a little bit of a cop-out because when I analyze what I do, sometimes it seems like there doesn't seem to be a lot of rhyme or reason to it too. But in general, like if I was going to play a scale or something, I might practice it by doing alternating free strokes. So maybe something like... And so I'm pretty much alternating. I'm trying to get on the side of the finger like I talked about. But I also sometimes do a little variation on what I think like Scotty Anderson and Brent Mason do. These are two, I think, Nashville cats that have this amazing ability to kind of roll their thumb first and second finger. And I think they have different patterns, but I don't want to overstate this because I don't do it a lot. But sometimes I'll play the scale alternating thumb, thumb, 2, 1, thumb, 2, 1, thumb, 2, 1, thumb, 2, 1. See, I just broke it. So it's not real consistent, but... Anyway, those guys do it, and they do it like... It's probably like the fastest I've ever seen anyone play the guitar. I mean, they just go really fast. Now, I haven't really tried to do that, but it kind of works pretty good as a way of sort of playing single notes. I would say that when I do play faster things, when I'm playing fingerstyle, what the right hand is doing isn't really the biggest part of the story. The biggest part of the story is really what the left hand's doing. I'm doing much more hammer-ons and pull-offs than if I was maybe playing with a pick or something. So if I was going to play like a blues lick or something, so there's a lot of slides. So every time I do a slide or a pull-off, that's one more thing I don't have to pick. So in that case, I don't really quite know what I'm doing. I'm just sort of playing free stroke. I'm kind of doing a little combination with the thumb. I apologize if this is just getting worse and worse, and it's not really clear what I'm doing, but that's sort of the point. But the main thing is that it's really kind of the left hand coming first here. It's the hammer-ons and pull-offs and stuff. If I am trying to play kind of faster things and stuff. So I have practiced playing scales and sequences that use all hammer-ons. For example, I might descend by going, or I might ascend using all pull-offs. So there's little sort of sequences and patterns and things you can do there where you'll end up sort of putting more hammer-ons and pull-offs. I don't practice a lot of that, but I have in the past, and that is kind of where I'm coming from with that. In general, I'm trying to avoid patterns and things. I think your musical choices should be made more on kind of continuing a melodic thought and not continuing like a pattern or something. So What else can I say about right hand technique? So single note lines, I think I covered arpeggios. A lot of times, like if I'm playing jazz and blues and stuff and I'm comping behind somebody, I'm sort of thinking about like kind of like reverse piano playing, instead of like pushing down, I'm just sort of pulling up on the notes. And there's a lot of left hand happening here too. Like if I'm playing this little G13 chord I have on deck here, the starting position is really kind of nothing happening. I just sort of pulse down there. But for the right hand, I'm just kind of quickly going like this. So in that case, I guess I'm sort of playing like a walking bass line, but I'm just sort of grabbing at the notes. And there's a little bit of like independence of the thumb there. So that's another thing that I might do in my own playing, is play kind of just grabbing at chords, I guess. I don't know, I can't think of too much else that I get into. Sometimes I'll just use my thumb, almost kind of like how Wes did. And that's maybe my way of approaching, because I have the thumb pick too. So although I have been known to take the thumb pick, stick it in my mouth and try to play some octaves, or sometimes I could just hide it, but that's another lesson. But sometimes I'll use the thumb kind of like Wes did, where I'm doing kind of a hybrid of Wes and maybe the classical thing of rest strokes. So you're kind of pushing down into the guitar and resting on the string below it. Just to kind of get a little bit more authority. So just a lot of different things you can do with the right hand. Again, there's no way I could cover it all, but the challenge of the day is to kind of really go out there and research different right hand techniques. And now in this age of YouTube, I mean, you can just sit there, well, don't, but you could spend all day and just check out all the different players' techniques and just see what you can incorporate into your own thing. All right, have fun.